We're both coming off the back of Good Things Festival weekend, so it's gonna be an
That's right. I had a couple friends that played that. How was it?
it was unreal. It was like very, for the most part, very flawless. Everything went off really well from a spectator standpoint. It was fantastic. All
Uh-oh.
bands absolutely crushed it. Who did you have there?
I'm looking it up to make sure. Well, my friend Royal and the Serpent, who
Oh, she's a
played some
sweetheart.
shows with Ryan in the past. That's my
Yeah,
homie.
cool.
Well, who else we had on the lineup? Limp Bizkit, that's iconic. Fall Out
Huge.
Boy, that's iconic. I Prevail. I smoked. Bless you.
Thank you.
Smoked a vape pen with I Prevail backstage one time. Nearly had a panic attack before I went on
That's
stage.
a terrible idea, for sure.
Yeah,
You got to
yeah,
do it once to know not to do it, right?
yeah. Bunch of friends on here. Yeah. Hopefully I can come hang out next time because it looks like a pretty good thing y'all had going on.
Yeah, it's a really cool mix. Like you guys have a lot more festivals in the States, so you've got more variety and more options to kind of go and be like amongst a varied amount of artists. Whereas in Australia, our music scene took a bit of a hit for a while, and so we don't have as many festivals. So Good
Sure.
Things is a great one because you have everyone from like your I Prevail, your Slaughtered to Prevail. As long as there's Prevail in the name, you can have them there. And then there was like Devo doing 50 years.
Right.
Like
Iconic. Just classic.
insane. Yeah, so good.
So it feels like every festival in Australia does the circuit, like Groove in the Moo, and everything does like multiple dates. Why is that? There's not really
Um,
like regional festivals as much.
I'm going to put it down to probably a smaller like population. Australia's population is so small.
Sure.
Like I think the population of California is the same size as the entirety of
I come
Australia.
from Canada, so I get it.
Okay, there you go. And so I just think it's so they can get more people at the festival. They need to have more dates. We're
Right.
also like a huge country. It's a massive space. So
Yeah.
if you live in Queensland and there's a festival in Victoria, that's a 20-hour drive to go watch that or a
Right.
very long
There's no
flight.
shot.
No, exactly. So I think we just have to do the multi-date thing in order to get more people to be able to come along.
Got it. Got it.
Right.
Yeah, my girlfriend is Australian. She's an
Oh,
incredible artist and musician herself.
ooh,
So I've
is
come
this a
out.
secret girlfriend? What? I'm not up in
No,
your
she's
dating
not
life.
secret. She goes by the name Wafia. Wafia.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, of course, she's on your new record. That makes total
yeah.
sense.
That's
Yeah,
that's my girl. So, through her, I've begun to kind of understand this crazy thing that is the Australian music industry.
it is a very different space.
And it's funny because, like I said, I'm Canadian, and I feel like if you just took Canada and you wrapped it around itself and you
Yeah,
turned Canada into a donut, it would, in many ways, reflect and resemble Australia. Because all of the cities in Canada are at the US southern border,
yeah.
and all the space north from there. You can just drive
So you're putting the
16
emphasis into the
hours.
middle by donutting it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had done it like that, you would really it would look a lot more like Australia. We just have this straight line more or less of major cities in Canada, and it's there are a couple more in Australia. It seems like it's really only like six like big cities, but
Yeah,
I really do love it over there. I think you guys have a really cool music scene. I think music fans there have a much more eclectic taste. The Triple J thing is a little bit more interesting than the American iHeart shit. So
it's
it's
interesting
cool.
because as a Australian, we probably feel like the American rock scene particularly is done a lot better on radio than it is in Australia. We have like
Hmm.
one major rock station, but they just refuse to play anything that's been in the last 20 years. They're just like, if it's not AC/DC or old Red
Right.
Hot Chili Peppers, we're not playing it.
Well,
So
ACDC is Australian, so I mean,
yeah, but I mean,
the
there's a lot
local
of
legend.
really good Australian artists that are going around now, but they're just like,
For sure. There's
uh,
so much great Australian alternative music. Obviously, you have Tame Impala, but I'm a big fan of King Gizzard. I love how experimental that stuff is. I love the neo soul stuff out of Australia, Hiatus Coyote, and
my dude, you know
yeah,
your stuff. I like it.
come on, man. Yeah, I'm a music fan first and foremost. But yeah, I think that I too, it doesn't matter where you go right now. Rock and roll is in this very confused space on how you can bring people together and make this broad enough like coalition of rock fans. And so the biggest thing remains just appealing to this nostalgia, for better or worse, until there's a big enough demand for the new cool bands. You need to bring in more humans to sell your advertising space, and that is still Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know what's going to happen when the Foo Fighters and stop headlining your festival. Like I don't know who's going to inherit that mantle. And I think that
There's
my
some
generation, like I've been doing this now about 5 years. Hopefully in 10, 15 years, you'll see artists that emerge and that build that long career. Because I do think in this genre more than any other, there is a certain power in that consistency, in that structure of just keep fucking doing it, play bigger and bigger shows as you keep growing. It doesn't need to have a huge hit song every 6 months, but if I just keep grinding and putting on a great show, then good things happen. That's
you've
kind of
heard
my impression of this rock and roll state of affairs right now. It's definitely weird. And as somebody that loves rock music, I love listening to new rock music. I see things like what's happening in hardcore music right now. And I feel like things are happening, and you'd be shocked just how little a rock fan at one of these festivals even knows about, modern music. They're just here to hear that song from their teenage years. And you're like, all right, if you're not going to be excited about what's happening, and I do think there is a good thing happening with more modern bands. I do think like it got a little sleepy and stale, but I do think that there's some cool stuff going on right now, and hopefully that includes what I'm doing. So hopefully we can start to see a bit more of a shift, start to see younger, cooler bands, start to see rock music as well be more inclusive. You see different kinds of people reflected on stage. You will see more and different people reflected in the audience. And I think
yeah.
that, that's such a big part of it. I know in Australia there's been issues around not booking enough women, issues around, just not booking people of color or indigenous artists. And I think other genres of music have been much more adaptable, much more progressive on that front. So
I think it ties
yeah,
back to what you're saying though about just maybe the industry holding on to those like archaic bands, and not saying like fucking Foo Fighters are still so relevant, such a big band. That's a bad example, but like bands that have been around forever doing the same thing forever, they know they can sell tickets, so they just go, well, that's what we're going with because we know it works. They're not sort of jumping onto what's new and exciting and fresh that we can work with. But that's when you come into
yeah,
things. Like you said, 5 years, that's not a long time to be in the space, and you've made some serious waves already, my friend. Don't sell
thank you.
yourself short. You've shared a stage with some pretty big artists already.
Yeah, totally. I've been super, super lucky. And, I think just between the pandemic and some other stuff that went down, I wasn't able to come do a full world tour up to this point. But I'm bringing with me into these venues like a first time artist, but I've been doing this hundreds of times around the world. And I've gotten to learn from opening for artists, it doesn't get any bigger than to Bring Me the Horizon tour or Imagine Dragons or whatever it is. I've been really lucky to get a kind of up close experience of playing big shows, and so it's fun to kind of bring that back into the headline room. It's going to be There'll be a lot of shows, a lot of grandson shows in Australia, fingers crossed, but there'll never be another first one. So that's an exciting feeling for me,
Yeah.
having lived in America and going on my fifth headline tour here or whatever it is. And you start hitting these cities and countries with this familiarity. There's something really exciting about being an artist my size and getting an opportunity to go do it all over again, prove yourself, and start at the bottom and work your way back up. So I'm
We get
stoked.
a kind of a treat in that way as well. So because whilst it's your first tour here, as you said, you've done it enough times, you're not trying to find your feet or figure out what your vibe is. You know who you are, you know what you're about. You get to just bring that fucking full force straight to us. That's, as a fan, that's very exciting to sort of like
Yeah, it'd be
just
cool.
let you
And
come and do
fans
your
have a
thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans of what I'm doing, or fans, you can look it up online and know what to expect.
Yeah.
Like leave your kids and your little dog at home. Like let's send it.
Let's do
So
this. I like that.
it's gonna be pretty fun, I think. And I think there's a little something extra in the tank when, like I said, I have spent some time traveling around your country, and I have personal connection to it, and I'm really invested in putting on a great show so that I can keep coming back because I love hanging out over there. So I think there's a little extra 10% magic that happens when a band really does feel like they have something to prove. Like, I want to
Yes.
play a good show so that I can keep playing shows over there, and I think because of that, it's gonna be a little something special.
So you, as you said, you've been able to sort of travel around the country a fair bit. Have you got a favorite place or a place you're looking forward to playing most?
You know what? I am really excited to go back to Brisbane, go back to Brizzy. I'm
Cool.
excited to go do Melbourne. Melbourne reminds me a lot of other cities around the world that I grew up When I was in Canada, I went to school in Montreal,
Okay.
which is a really interesting city, really good food, really good dance music, full of life. That's where I started making music. So to walk through the streets of Melbourne, there was something that felt really familiar for me, and I realized it's because of this connection. I feel like that city has to the cities that I first started making music in. So I'm excited for all of that. As far as places I've been, um, man, I've had some really good times there. We spent some time. I was chilling in the Gold Coast for a bit. We went up to Port Douglas. I went to the Great Barrier
Oh,
Reef.
you've
Like,
you've been around. I like that.
I've been around. It's funny. Like, I've been to a couple places, like the Great Barrier Reef. I got to go to, and I know most Australians never get up there because if you're going to go on a big vacation, a lot of people get off the island. So.
But they should
Um,
because it's stunning.
It's it is nuts over there. You guys got something really special going on as far as just how gorgeous it is and the atmosphere. And I ended up at a Pokies drunk one night. I have actually performed. I should admit, I have a confession to make
But it's not an
here on the
official
breakdown.
performance.
This is not my first performance. You see, I was a couple beers deep. We went past the Pokies. There was an open mic night, and I may or may not have jumped on the stage and shared the microphone
What did you
with.
play?
I can't remember. I think I did like an Eagles song, like just like a
Oh,
standard.
right.
The
Yeah.
guitarist already knew it, but I was rocking a bit, but I definitely got through it, and that was my debut Australian before. I mean, I don't know if I wrote that down on my visa, so I should. I don't know if it
Yeah.
was a legitimate. I wasn't
We might have to
compensated
cut
for
this so
it.
you get let back in the country.
Yeah, but
You're
I did. A
lying.
woman at the slot machine did tell me I did a good job, so I
You
don't
know,
know
I do
how
this for a
else I.
living, so
Yeah, if you weren't sure about coming before, go ask her. I think she
yeah.
was in Townsville or something. Go ask her, the woman at the Pokies, how grandson throws down. She'll tell you.
All right. As long as it's an Eagles cover, you got it covered. Um,
Yeah.
Now, when it comes, you touched before on Imagine Dragons, and that was something that I am quite naive to. I didn't realize how big they were until I saw yesterday. They're like one of the top streamed artists of all time. They've got like multiple songs with over 1 billion streams. What's
I
it
know.
like for you as you're not an emerging artist, but like 5 years is not a long time to kind of come on and be able to share a stage and experience a band that has that much pull, that much credibility with their songs. Is that intimidating, or is that something that you've kind of, because it all happens so fast for you, you just had to kind of roll with the punches?
Yeah, the experience of being on the stage and sharing your music with fans, I actually think like when you remove all of the pyro and the explosions and the this and that, I just see a bunch of guys that play music together having a good time singing their songs. And so I didn't feel too intimidated. If anything, I felt like there's a freedom in being the opener, that when you're the headliner and you've got the pressure and responsibility to move the tickets and to give people what they want every night. Sometimes I've been on both sides of it, and there's something quite liberating and simple about just people that bought a ticket for the Imagine Dragons show. They don't know who Grandson is. They might know some of my bigger songs, but we just got to get up there and be a little loose. So I will say that when you start getting into these arenas and stadiums, there's so much. It's like a moving city,
Yeah.
100 people employed. Just the logistics of feeding these people. Like you
Sure.
have to bring the amount of small choices that need to be accounted for every day to keep the ship kind of rolling on from city to city, while still being able to remove all of that responsibility and put on a great show every night. That's what I really admire in the great performers in the world. It's not just that they're great at what they do, but you get up close to it and you just see how many different ways your attention can be drawn.
Yeah.
The meet and greet becomes its own, thing to get solved, and there's so much going on, and to be able to put your horse blinders on and just keep moving straight and keep experiencing it, and hopefully enjoying it too, not just doing it to get through it, not just doing it to like do it. Like I not only do I want to play big shows, I want to have a good time doing it too. Like
Yeah,
I
of
want to
course.
feel something that is connected to why I wrote these songs in the first place. I want to take in every single night how incredible it is to travel around the world and have these lyrics that came from the bottom of my heart sung back at me. And you need to be able to let everything else go to be able to appreciate that. Um,
Do you
and
have
that's a skill for sure.
any ways that you sort of to get yourself ready and to drive the way? Because like I said, it's the music business. There is so much more behind it than what maybe your general public understands. How do you go about setting yourself up to be in the moment, to be fully present and give them that experience and not let them in on, hey, we had to send fucking 40 emails before we got on stage to make sure the next venue was ready and for load in and for our staff to be sorted.
Right.
How do you get yourself ready to kind of just go, this is the music, this is what you're getting, this is what you paid for?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't get asked it very often. I would say one of the big things is I just have like about a hour to a half hour before the show, I need to be wrapped in bubble wrap energetically. I don't want anyone else's stress. I don't need to know the details. I don't need to know anything that's outside that focus. I need the people around me on this journey to recognize that their contribution is helping me not only get in the right mindset, but stay in the right mindset. And another big one is sitting on your phone. It's really easy
Yeah,
to just kind of, you're sitting around backstage, got nothing to do, you're sitting on Instagram, you see something cool, you see something that upsets you, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden you have to shut that off. So putting your phone down and being present. And for me, it's putting on a loud ass playlist, drinking whiskey, and getting a little rowdy. I try not to do it every night when I'm playing 100 shows a year, almost one in every 3 nights. I'm
yeah.
playing a show. So for me to, get wasted and treat it like it's this holiday every night is, from my experience, not really sustainable.
No,
But
no.
a little bit, like I need to get a little feeling like you're a rock star before you get out there. And if it all goes well, then you can, from that first moment, be in it. And sometimes I feel like it takes me two or three songs to kind of rev up into it. You
Sure.
At first you might be going through the motions, you're still feeling out these other people that are having this experience. There's some drunk dude that's like picking a fight in the corner, and that catches your attention. It takes 10 minutes or so, and then all of a sudden
You're immersed.
it's like you catch your breath, and you're like, okay, we're in it. I don't know if your audience is into this kind of thing, but for me, it's kind of like a psychedelic experience. Like it takes a
Sure.
couple. Sometimes it's a bit of a rocky start, waiting for these mushrooms to kick in or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you're in it. It's a different, elevated consciousness. It's a sensitivity. It's an experience that takes a second to get into, and then you're back in it. And I recognize what a privilege it is to get so used to doing it, to
Yeah, that's
be
right.
the guy on the stage holding the microphone with 1,000 people looking this way and the three of us looking out like this. And you go,
Yeah.
okay, I'm back in it. And if I'm good at it and if I feel good, I can get to the bottom of what do I want to do with this unique opportunity to speak to a lot of people who might not always agree with one another. You don't know how much they've done just to get here. Not only the logistics of going to a show, which we all know, as far as getting an Uber and coat check and,
It all
buying
adds
two
up. Yeah,
drinks
yeah,
at the
yeah,
bar. Even that stuff aside, just, I make music about my mental health and the things that people have managed to get through. A lot of people have the grandson show circled on their calendar of, if I can just make it through these 4 weeks, the hardest 4 weeks of my life, if I can just get through this period of financial uncertainty, whatever it is, like, and now you're here. And what do I want to do with that to connect people with one another, and to take this hour and a half where you're at the grandson show and have you leave feeling a sense of connectivity and a sense of agency in your life. I feel like this kind of music, it's rebellious, it's this, it's that. Rock and roll makes you want to get up and do something,
hell yeah.
like maybe it's just lifting weights, or it's, driving real fast, but rock and roll needs to make you want to do something. And a lot of people really benefit from that message of whatever it is you're stuck at in your life, just get up and go do something about it, and use this music as the soundtrack to change that relationship you have to your own life. And I don't know what that is. For different people, it's different things, whether it's, sobriety, or it's just getting out of a relationship, or making a move to a new city because you're stuck doing the same shit with your high school friends. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it's been about, if I feel good on stage, I can get to the bottom of what's the point of me being here. And while still giving people what they paid for, which was ultimately to hear the music. And I'm going to get to that big song and I'll play my catalog. But if it goes really well, there's something deeper that I'm trying to get out, and that I can see it resonate with a couple people in the crowd. And they're like,
Yeah.
man, I just thought I was coming for a mosh pit, and I'm leaving feeling ready to like do that thing that I didn't even realize I needed doing. That's for me why to come to a grandson show. And when it goes well, that's what makes people want to come back, so I haven't really had much of an opportunity to come do that over there, but that's what gets me excited. Is there's one or two people that are going to be at this show, and it's going to be a catalyst. It's going to be a pinball machine. You'll bounce off this night, and it might just help shake you up a little bit and wake you up to what's going on around here, because it's your fucking life, and rock and roll should be used to remind you of that simple and powerful truth that it's your fucking life to go live, nobody else's.
Was there a song or an artist that did that for you, an experience that set you like that?
That's a good question.
I can tell, like, so when you're saying that, because as you're talking, that for me was Sabotage by the Beastie Boys. That was like the first time I saw that, and I was just like, oh God, I've got to do this. I've got to, like, it amped me up in a way that every time I hear that song now, it's still like it's a set off for me.
Yeah,
That's an experience for you.
yeah,
Like,
that's great. I had a couple. I mean, it was kind of all over the map. I just had, what's funny is, going back to the beginning of our conversation, it was music festivals. It was just the whole experience, like being able to move through different crowds, to leave that stage and go meet people over here. I just remember feeling like, around my end of my teenage years, around 17, 18, I just started feeling like, oh, this is kind of my life to live, and I really enjoy this, and I want to keep doing it. Like, the night doesn't have to end. I don't have to go home. I can stay. What is this guy doing who's tearing the stage down? And
yeah,
that guy's still in it. Like, and you go backstage, and there's a whole universe, like an ecosystem of people that the night they pack up and then they go do it again tomorrow. And I just never wanted to go home. I was like, I just want to stay in this feeling and give it to other people. But of course, there's like Rage Against the Machine and all kinds of, bands and shit that like did really make me want to run through a brick wall. And I'm lucky enough that I've gotten to meet some of those people and work with them. But
oh yeah, that's
but
cool.
I think for me, the live experience was just kind of its own thing. It was taking ecstasy and going to dance music and being like, whoa, this is like, I don't want to go back to school. I want to stay doing this. And all of a sudden I have a job now. I hated getting a job until it was connected to a feeling I wanted to feel.
That's a cool thing. You have a fairly eclectic sound, and something that's kind of hard to pinpoint in like the grandson experience. Because of that, that's allowed you to play with a whole range of diverse artists. and you would fit in on some very diverse festivals. Have you got any artists there that are like on the bucket list for you, being like, yeah, that's someone I want to share a stage with or have that experience with?
Of course, of course. I really have. I've really wanted, obviously, to share. I got to share a stage with Tom Morello, which
Yeah.
meant so much to me. That was really cool. He came out for my LA show and did Bloodwater with us. But opening for Rage Against the Machine would be such a massive bucket list. I don't even care. Like, I can just fan out. Like, sometimes it's like, maybe I should act more cool. I do not care. I
No,
still,
you can't be
every time I
cool.
see Tom, I'm like, dude, I will literally mop the floor. I'll tell me what I got to do. Run the Jewels,
Oh, right.
Gorillas.
Yeah.
Um, those are a couple artists that Red Hot Chili Peppers, Green Day, are those kind of artists. I would be honored to get in the mix with a little bit, and I think what we would do would be really special. And but the question is, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go open for this iconic band. Is that person? I'm talking to you, random fan that bought a ticket for Red Hot Chili Peppers or Paramore. Like, are you there at 7 p.m.? Like, are you there for somebody else to remind you that there's a lot more music than that first song? Because for
In
me,
Australia, yes, that seems to
well,
be the
that's
case
what I'm
now, man.
talking about.
Post
Because
COVID, people
sometimes
turn
I
early.
actually find that like the best shows as an opener are not the biggest shows. Sometimes the most impactful set I can have as an opener is for like a 2,000 cap room, 1,500,
Yeah,
where people know what's like happening. It hasn't happened yet, maybe. Maybe it's one song and they're here for the potential. Those people get there early and buy a t-shirt for a band they have no idea. I've opened for a lot of big bands and I don't always leave that experience feeling very connected to like the audience necessarily. So as far as like who do I want to share a stage with, for an ego perspective of like I was a fan and now I'm sharing this moment. Those things are cool, but as far as like who I wanna, I want to play to an audience that wants that shit, and sometimes that's just means not really looking at the very very top of the top. It means kind of finding some cool underground shit going on and pushing yourself to be like, no, that's where I want to be, like in the cool kids table.
so on the flip side of that, what goes into your consideration when picking your support artist for who's going to play with you? Because you're giving someone else that opportunity. How do you go about choosing them?
Yeah. Well, one of the big things that I'm doing moving forward is I'm not bringing an American band to come open for me. I'm
Right.
bringing an Australian artist that deserves that shine, deserves that opportunity to get out in front of people, that will be back soon.
Yeah.
Finding a way to give back, not just to the community, but to the scene that I'm hoping will show up for me. Like, I can't walk in and feel entitled to the Melbourne rock community to come all spend their money on a ticket if I'm not prepared to show that like I'm also connected to what that is too. So that's a big thing, is can I find a band or an artist who is making waves in that scene already, and who might take that opportunity and it might mean something to them. Sometimes it's you're just getting started or it's starting to plateau and you need a spark, you need a reminder that that it's working, and getting an opportunity to open for an international artist can sometimes be that. Like, I've
Yeah.
felt that certainly at the beginning of my career. Like, um, so can I find a way to give a little bit of love to that local community and artist is one thing that I try to factor in. And can it be an artist who, I think that because I am so articulate with my intention on social media and on stage, I love bringing in artists who tell their own story in that way.
Yeah.
Royal
Cool.
and the Serpent is a great example. Like, I brought her out on tour and she connected with my fans and took a moment in her 30-minute set to explain who she is,
Yeah. Cool.
why she's here, and help fans latch onto the story and not just the music. It's not apathetic. It's not just like shoegaze. I don't even care if we're doing this in my basement. Like, no, like, we as performers on the grandson bill are here to give people this experience. And I like working with performers that have that respect for the audience, respect for what we can do. I got to play a bunch of shows this year with my good friend Kay Flay, who's also coming to Australia very soon.
Cool.
She's an incredible alternative artist, who also kind of, yeah, you leave the set feeling like you threw your middle fingers up to your boss or whatever. It felt good. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for, and hopefully sometimes you get really lucky. And that doesn't need to be about rock and roll, even. Like, it can be a singer with an acoustic guitar, it can be a rapper, it can be a lot of different things that can come together. Because I don't think a grandson fan, like you said, like the music's all over the place.
Yeah.
So I don't think people are like disappointed when there's no guitars on stage necessarily. It really just comes down to, is that performer connecting with that sense of purpose that motivated people to buy the ticket?
Yeah, hell yeah. I love that. I'm going to wrap things up with you with a few would you rather questions, because these are important. I feel like they're going to really show off you as a person, as an artist.
Let's
I'm going to
go.
start off with, if you only had the chance to play one type of show for the next year, what would it be? Festivals or individual shows?
Individual shows. God,
Why
I
is
love
that?
that shit. Oh man, because when those shows, I think that there's an incredible experience to both, but when it's your gig and everyone's there on the same page, there's a certain special something that is, for me, the most gratifying.
Okay.
That's my experience. Festival's great too.
Okay. I feel like, yeah, it is cool. I think they're also there for your music. So, you're connecting with everyone because they're there for the same reason, rather than being like, oh, they might be wanting to see another band. You can convert them. It's all shared experience, which is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, the highs are a little higher when it's your crowd.
Okay. Uh, Dumbledore or Gandalf?
Oh, Dumbledore for sure.
My dude, I knew I liked you. That's the correct answer.
Dumbledore
You're right.
for sure. A little more wisdom. I don't even know, what are they fighting? Who am I smoking a joint with? I just feel like Dumbledore had a
Yeah.
little more love to give. He was sweet from the get-go. Gandalf took a little warming up. He was a little like, ugh, what do these hobbits want?
He's
And
arrogant.
then warmed up to them. But Dumbledore, it was like a coach and teacher and mentor from the jump.
Yeah,
So
great. Love
if I
that.
only have one day with them, I'm picking Dumbledore every time.
I'm going to stick to the nerdy vibes. If you were to be cast as a character, would you prefer to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the Star Wars universe?
I'm actually not a huge Star Wars guy. I
That's
was
your
I
answer.
was yeah, I was born in between eras of
Sure.
Star Wars. I'm going Marvel.
And who would you be?
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know that I don't think I'm ready. I think I would need to get cast and then I would work my way in. But I grew
Okay.
up loving Spider-Man and shit. Maybe I'll just be like an extra. I'll be like, Peter Parker walks into a bar and is about to get in a fight, and I'm just playing my little. I would like to be an extra in
You're
the
not an
game.
extra. You're going to be main character energy. You give main
Nah,
character energy.
nah,
Don't be
that's
so humble.
somebody else's problem. I'll just rock out in the back of some
You
bar
can be
fight.
rock star Peter Parker. We've seen that in
Exactly.
Spider Verse.
I'll take it. I'll
Okay,
take
you're ready to go on stage. You're warm, you're dry, you're comfortable, you're ready to rock and roll. You have to put on cold wet socks or cold wet underwear. What do you choose and why?
You know what? I would actually go cold, wet underwear, and I'll tell you why. If you're at a grandson show, things are gonna get quite hot and
Yeah.
sticky and sweaty, and that actually might be a nice ventilation system.
You
Cold
I-
socks, then you got to put your shoes on. Like, oh,
Yeah.
just kill me. Just lay me down on the train tracks and hit me with a train. I don't want anything to do with that. But cold underwear could maybe buy me like one or two songs of like, ooh, I'm kind of cool right now.
do you know your body cools down via your feet?
Maybe your body does. Mine does by my balls.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, my body cools down on my feet. I'm so sorry. I
Got
can't
it.
believe you didn't know
Yeah.
that. I can't believe you didn't know about my body.
I know. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will. I'm gonna give you one last hard question. This is a hard question.
I'm ready.
Favorite song on the new album, and one song given gunpoint you'd have to cut from the album. What do you choose?
Of my own album.
Of your own album. Yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. Obviously, they all connected with me at some point in my life. I really love playing my song Drones live. It has been
Cool.
so much fun. It's a weird time signature. people aren't really sure what's happening, and then when we hit them over the head with it, it all clicks into place. I would
Sick.
love to keep playing that song. I'm so proud of that song. I love that
Yeah.
song. If I had to
Drones.
cut
Love that.
one, damn, if I had to cut one, um, maybe something at the end. Ooh, it's tough.
Oh, okay.
There's been one or two that I've never played live. I got a song called "Stuck Here with Me" that I actually love. I loved writing. It came from a very personal place. It closes the album out. First ever grandson fade out. We usually always just stop a song, and this one faded out. Felt like it was going on for eternity. But it's just too hard to sing. Every time I get excited about putting it into the set, it's just too low energy and long. But fans keep getting upset with me, and some of them are going to be upset to hear. I don't think it's happening. I don't think
Well,
Stuck Here With Me
give
live.
it 10 years, you do the anniversary tour and you play the whole thing front to back, then they can get it. Let's not just
That's
stick
what I
around till
need
then.
to do. That's what I need to do because right now it's not happening. So I'm
Although
going to
you
cut
just
that.
cut it from the album, so I guess it's never happening. So
Yeah, exactly.
dude, it's been a pleasure
Exactly.
chatting with you. I'm so excited to get out here. As I said, I've been a fan for a while. So to finally get you to come play out here is a very exciting prospect. And I hope you have the best time.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to having a beer before I leave that beautiful, beautiful place you guys call home. And it's been a pleasure to have this conversation.
Thank you, man.
No problem, dude.